Here's how you can have better agreements, more clear, more concise, more promising agreements with any and all of your relationships. The other day I promised to you that I would talk about contracts of appreciation, one of my most favorite things when it comes to better communicating with any of your relationships, with your sexual partners, with your business partners, with your friends and colleagues, employees, etc. In one of the groups that I'm in, let's say this girl's name is Leanne. It's not her actual name, but she was asking a question within the group on how to better connect with her partner. And she came up to her partner and she wanted to talk about things that were very, very important to her during that time. She wanted to talk about the longevity of the relationship. She wanted to talk about what feels good to her and things she wanted to bring up in the relationship that was very important at that time. And her troubled domain was when she came up to her boyfriend wanting to talk about it, I don't know what exactly she said, but he said he was busy working on something. He was working on a watch. He was fixing a watch, I think. And so he then continued to fix his watch. And then I brought up to her the notion of contract of appreciation. Now remember the other day I talked about that every communication you do is a negotiation. And if you look at it in that way, if you look at every communication that you have as a negotiation, now you're saying, I'm not really negotiating, Rowan. What are you talking about? I'm just talking. I'm just having a conversation. It's not a negotiation. It's not nothing professional, anything like that. There's nothing at stake here. And then I tell you, at the very least, what you're negotiating for is the attention of someone. If you take that attention as already granted to you, you can know. How do you know that your relationship is about to go to hell? How do you know your relationship is about to go to shits? Is when you presume that the attention of your partner is granted already to you. Here's why. It's because when you presume that the attention of the other person is granted already to you, they will feel taken for granted. They may not communicate that, and likely they wouldn't communicate that with you. They won't tell you, hey, you're taking me for granted, because most people don't have that sort of clear and open communication. But I assure you, they will be feeling taken for granted. And the death knell of every loving relationship is being, and therefore feeling, taken for granted. So you negotiate better. You negotiate a contract of appreciation. You negotiate for their attention. At the very least, what you're negotiating for is their attention. What does that look like? A simple negotiation could look like this. Hey baby, is now a good time to ask you a question? So what is a contract of appreciation? I've taken enough business law to understand that this one particular thing about contracts, and it's this. Contracts doesn't have to be written and signed. There's something called a social contract in which you create a contract based on just your saying things, just getting agreements from people. When they agree to it by saying yes, or by saying I agree to that, or by saying merely okay, there's now some sort of contract there. So very, very poor contract of appreciation, very, very poor contract management and communication management is when somebody surprises, a guy surprises his girlfriend with a marriage ring, an engagement ring, and gets on his knees in front of the public. They're in some public thing and the family's there, the cousins are there, every relative is there, and they're having dinner, and he comes up to her and he proposes for her hand in marriage and shows her the ring and asks for her marriage. Now, you probably imagine, because the media has propagated it so much, that this would be taken in good and taken well by the woman. But more often than you think, the woman is taken aback, and the woman is probably not even ready to get married or doesn't want to get married, and especially doesn't want to get married with that person. In which case, she either lies and she says, okay, yeah, really awkward situation because everyone's watching. Or she runs away, or she does something crazy. Or she walks away, she walks off. You should YouTube engagement proposal fails. Look at that and you'll see a lot of what I'm talking about. Why? It's because he hasn't gotten a contract of appreciation. A contract of appreciation is an agreement saying, if I do this, will you appreciate it? You'll find that when you ask that question, a lot of people will say, it's not really my thing in any way, shape, or form. I'll give you another example. Why do I have a non-obligatory gifts rule? In other words, in situations and occasions where people traditionally give gifts like birthdays or Christmas, I have a rule, no gifts during those days. Why? It's because when you give a gift, it's because you're not giving a gift. I can't tell and I can't know for certain whether you're giving a gift out of your own accord because you wanted to give me a gift, or you're giving a gift because you've been obligated to give a gift. There's no way to tell. I certainly love gifts and I love receiving them, just not on days where it's obligatory. So any other day, other than those days where people traditionally give gifts, I accept gifts. So how do you get a contract of appreciation? I've got 3 minutes to talk. How do you get a contract of appreciation? You simply communicate with your partner or communicate with anyone and communicate with them and ask them whether what you'd like to do, they would appreciate. So this girl, Leanne, who came up to her boyfriend, she hasn't gotten a contract of appreciation. And so what I encouraged her to do is get that contract of appreciation. At the very least, create that negotiation. Hey, and come up to him and say, hey baby, I want to talk about something very, very important. Is now a good time to talk, or is later a better time? Or when is a better time for you? And I assure you, he will give you either now's a good time, or I'm really working on something very important. I'll talk to you about it later. How important is it to you? And then he will assess what he's doing, whether what he's doing is more important or the conversation with you is more important. Get that contract of appreciation. So a contract of appreciation, what does it look like? It looks like this. If I were, the other day, I got my sweetie a running shoe. It's a $160, $180 running shoe. But if I just got it for her, I wouldn't know whether or not she would appreciate it. And so I got a contract of appreciation. I said, hey baby, if I got you this Nike $180 shoe, would you appreciate it? I'm very clear and very direct in my communication. And she said, yeah, I would love that. That's amazing. And so I got it. I didn't waste my money on a gift that someone may not even appreciate. So here's what you learned today. You learned that all communication is a negotiation. At the very least, the very least negotiation that you do is negotiate for their attention. When you take their attention as already granted to you, you know your relationship is gonna go down. It's on a downhill slope already. Get a contract of appreciation. Make sure you get the appreciation of the person. All communication is agreements. And so when you get the agreement of the other person, that is now, you have now received a contract that they would appreciate it. And what I would encourage you to do is practice contract of appreciation, practice asking whether or not someone would appreciate something you would do for them. Number 2 is go to greatrelationshipsyou.com and learn the 13 skills. It's a free training that I did, the 13 skills on how to communicate better and have better relationships.